We're about to get official. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mastermind, Body, and Spirit Show. I'm your host, Matt Belair. Today's guest was born as a first-generation American in LA, where he was raised in an entrepreneurial Lebanese family. He had a couple challenging experiences in his early 20s that changed his entire perspective on life. He has since spent the majority of his time focused on his personal growth and service to humanity. He has a dual MBA in entrepreneurship and management. He started a solar company out of college and then co-founded a nonprofit organization, unify.org, where he produced over 30 campaigns on Earth Day, Peace Day, World Water Day, and more. He's inspired events in over 17,000 locations over the last 6 years and is now building a technology platform to support social movements in materializing their mission. He is also a co-founder and advisor to the Global Sisterhood, a movement that has supported and organized over 5,600 women's circles over the last 2 years. He has a 14-year-old twin sons and lives in Austin, Texas. Welcome to the show, my friend, Patrick Kronfli. What's up, brother?
What's up, Matt? Thank you for having me on the show. Appreciate being here.
Of course, man. It's so great to finally get into it. We met a long time ago at Burning Man, where you were helping with an event, and I learned about your work and was just so excited to be friends and learn more about what you're doing. Such amazing stuff. So we have 30 minutes. You're such an amazing guy. It's like, 30 minutes with you. I could talk to you all day, and we've had long discussions. So why don't you give people a little background on like where you came from, why you're doing what you're doing, and some of the incredible projects that you're up to now.
Got it. Yeah. So I came from a world being raised to build and grow a business, right? A family business, and kind of like the mentality of like conquering the world. And pretty soon, in a conference room, by the way, in our co-working facility here in Austin, Texas, and we have people going in and out, so I'm just going to preface on that. And oh man, life is so good. And we've come a long ways since that realm where I was raised to conquer the world. And in the early 20s, I kind of had a couple rock bottom experiences that shifted my perspective from like manipulating the world for my own benefit out of fear to growing, evolving, and giving in the world. And since then, I've been on that train. And in my mid-20s, I had a solar company, and I started coming to work and realizing that I wasn't fully fulfilled in what I was creating. And so I just decided to start following that passion and that inspiration wherever it led me. And later that year, it led me to India, where I went for a month. And that entire trip was really to get out of my world and figure out what it meant to create. You know, I got back to Austin, and a couple friends and I just started organizing meditation flash mobs throughout the city. And it grew into a movement just naturally. From 1 month to the next month, it grew to 7 cities, then to 16 cities, then to 28 cities, and 54 cities. And it just kind of like exploded overnight. And within 12 months, it grew to 450 cities without us actually even really doing any marketing. And this was before Unify actually existed. And then a good buddy of mine and I met in August of 2011 and got into a couple media projects in 2012. He and I and about 12 others came together into the mountains of Mill Valley, northern Bay Area. And for day in and day out for 2 months straight, we worked really hard to launch Unify on December 21st of 2012. Hey. All right, so we have people moving into this conference room. So while we're doing this interview, I'm going to move and talk with you guys at the same time.
Sounds good, brother. You're a busy man. I'm so glad I got even a piece of your time. Well, when you have stats like 5,600 live events and things like that, you know, you got to organize a lot of things.
Hey guys, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and the team that's built around us has been absolutely incredible. I think over the last 6-7 years since Unify started and all these different organizations began, we've had maybe over 150 people work for us in different capacities. And everybody that's come to the table has been so passionate and caring, and thriving in their own world as a leader and transforming themselves and transforming the planet, that's had the privilege, even though it's been tough, to make this type of organization work. Self-transformation and transformation of our planet isn't the same as selling widgets. But everyone that's come to the table has given it their all, and it hasn't been easy, it's been challenging. Sometimes, it pushes us to our edge because, when we're bringing people together all around the world to go through a transformative experience, us on the inside have to live the same thing, walk the walk, talk the talk, be the being that we're wanting to create on the planet. And so, over the last 6 years, we've organized over 35 campaigns on Earth Day, Peace Day, World Water Day. Now, outside of Unify, we started a new company called Rise that's focused on building a tech platform to support us and other social movements and most efficiently organize themselves. I'm here. I'm available. I'm here to serve our planet. I'm here to be at the forefront of creation, forefront of evolution, and happy that we all get to live this life together, and witness all the shifts and the changes and evolution that's happening.
Amazing, brother. Yeah, man. Well, I love your story, and I like how you have the education on how to sell widgets, because it's important, because we're going to merge that with, how are we, what I think that you're doing that is massive, has been coming up a lot in the podcast lately, is building community, people getting together with people, because then all the barriers are broken down. I think when we look at media, it can kind of get lost in the fear your neighbor, you even want to talk to the guy in the store or whatever. But what you're doing is you're bringing people together and having these experiences. And I think that's incredibly valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we forget, that experience is really what most of us as human beings crave at the deepest level. That all the material stuff is awesome, but we really crave our fun, deep, loving, caring, thrilling, adventurous experiences, that bring us together to deeper states of connection with each other and with ourselves.
100%, man. And so I know you're working on a lot of projects. You have a lot on the go. You're doing some things with the Women's Day, women's movement. You did the water movement. What projects do you have going on right now?
Yeah, so we have an ongoing women's movement called the Global Sisterhood that is led by a woman named Lauren Walsh, and there's a team of 6 women that are rocking at full speed every day. Every month they have new moon circles in hundreds of locations around the world. And they just launched a program called Her Rising, where women can go deeper and come listen to live interviews that the women are doing with leaders and social change, entrepreneurs, CEOs, also spiritual leaders. And so that movement's called the Global Sisterhood. It's at globalsisterhood.org. The next movement that we're focused on is for International Yoga Day on June 21st. We're going to be launching a new meditation movement, building up to 2022. And our goal by 2022 is to have 100 million people meditating together. Yeah, solid. And so also on International Yoga Day, we're going to be launching a campaign called Meat Fast for Climate Change, which is a 40-day challenge to give up beef and show the impact that it has on the environment.
Oh man, I love that. I've literally consistently said, if we can get 1 million people, every day, maybe for 10 minutes, just to meditate on peace, what could we do? If we live, I've had, I'm blanking on his name, but one of the main researchers on Roger Nelson, global consciousness, and talking about the noosphere and how we're all interlinked. So what if we had 1 million people meditating on peace and harmony? How much could that affect our environment? And I'm grateful that you're making massive steps on creating that and making that a reality. Is there a reason that you how are you functioning this as a process to get as many people involved? Because what we need really is participation, a spot to, do an activity, and then the physical space as well. So do you reverse engineer it, or how do you think about it?
Well, it's getting as many people involved is a function of a few different things. Number one is a really compelling, cutting edge invitation, right? It's got to be cool It's got to look good for people to participate in it. So that's one thing, that the themes and the reasons that we're getting together have to like really hit that emotional trigger for us. Otherwise, it's just like one other thing. And global meditation, since we started 7 years ago, have become a regular thing. So in order to like be on the leading edge of it, we really got to start coming up with concepts and ideas and reasons we're coming together that are more leading edge. The next thing is building out the technical infrastructure to be able to support and actually evaluate how many people are registering around the world. So we currently have a system where organizers are able to register their events on the map. People are able to come and participate, sign up for the global broadcast, all that. But we're really going to, in the next little while, build out our technical infrastructure so that that entire world of people that are coming together to meditate, organize events, connect with each other, have a place that allows them to most efficiently organize those events, and for us to be able to communicate with them and track them. On another level, it's all about partnerships. It's all about developing partnerships with other organizations, thought leaders, influencers that feel the same vision. And it's about creating a vision that is a collective vision, that everyone can say, yes, I'm buying into this. I'm not doing this to support one organization or help one person or create revenue for this. It's like we're all coming together for the collective good of every single man, woman, child being on the planet. And so partnerships are really important in getting that collective mass of people. And then something that is completely forgotten about and people don't know about is that when we're organizing these global meditations and global social movements, internally, our team has to be strong and fortified and building and being able to contain the energy of these global meditations. Because organizing a global meditation on paper is easier than it actually is, because because we are creating something that is much bigger than ourselves on an energetic level. The entire team goes through a process of evolution and growth and transformation. And so it's important for the team internally to be meditating daily, connecting daily as a team, as an individual, to be able to be strong in our center and contain the energy of the bigness of what we want to create. And the team needs to grow and build in a systematic way as these meditations keep growing.
Amazing. That's an interesting note. I've learned that before too, that even like your own business, how it's going to function is operating off of your body's energy where you are. So if you have gaps, your business might get a little bit wonky, and I can totally see that with the team, and it's a massive mission. I know that you've worked on world peace, or how do we do global peace day? And one thing I know that you want, as well as I and many others, is peace. We want peace on this planet. We want harmony. And what would you say to an individual or a collective? Because you are also educated on the problem. And a lot of the time on the podcast, like, hey, look, a lot of us see the problem, but we're here to build the solution. And you're such an incredible example of building the solution. You don't sit there in the morning and you watch CNN and you yell at Fox News, and then you go to the bar and you debate somebody about Trump, this and that. You're sitting there spending your time aware of an issue and building a solution relentlessly. And this is the energy that we need. And it's going to affect how you experience your own life. You went from like, what can I get? And sell all the widgets and have a big house, to like, how can I serve and cooperate and get in this game? And it changes your life, but it ultimately inspires everybody around you.
Cool. Yeah, it's definitely a balance, right? Because I love politics, or I'm fascinated by politics and world events and structures and systems of governance and finance and how this world came to be, because it's gotten us to where we're at now, and just because there's a way that's better that we're bringing in and creating doesn't necessarily mean that everything before us was bad. And if we have a resistance to the past, or we have some type of anger to the past, then what's going to happen is we're going to get trapped in trying to fix all the stuff, versus like really tapping in and like bringing in like the newness of what we want to create and where we want to go, and be aware of everything that exists around us, because we need to meet it where it's at. And it's important to know that like many of us are meditators and been on this path for a while. We have like really, really incredible visions, and we have conversations for what's possible on this planet. And like we've even experienced states of bliss and happiness and joy and expansiveness that like are far beyond what most human beings get to experience on a daily basis. But it's so important for us to know that it's not going to transform overnight. Like we all hope that like it's going to be December 21st, and then it's going to be this, and then it's going to be that, and then we're always looking for that time that some type of like tipping point is going to happen. But the tipping point is every single moment, you know, one foot in front of the other, consistency. And it is accelerating for sure, but for a while here, we're going to have to create in such a way that meets the current systems and the current collective consciousness where it's at, and invite them to take one step at a time. I mean, when you go to third world countries, it's so apparent, even places here in the US, like there's so many worlds and so many millions and billions of people that aren't even close to having the opportunity to be where we're at. So it's important for us to be very conscientious of that. There's still really, really strong power dynamics and systems and structures that helped us get us to where we're at now that are going to need to like open up slowly. We don't want it to open up too quickly, because people will glitch out, you know, like people will crack, you know, and it's already hard enough for me evolving at the pace that I'm evolving at. If I had billions of other people around the world evolving at the pace that I'm evolving at, I don't know if I would be able to handle it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that balance of like watching the world around us, being conscientious, compassionate of the world around us while focusing on our own balance and growth.
That's beautiful, man. I really like that because I've been caught in the just upset with this system, right? You can see it, and where it comes from, I believe, for me, anyways, is the pain. I look, and as a 13-year-old kid, or even younger, 10, I only had 2 channels, and one of them was a replay of people starving in Ethiopia and things like that. And I was like, I have all this stuff. Why is this happening? Can't we just like work together? Like, where are the adults working together to fix this problem? And then they get a little bit older and research into it and look, and it's hard. There's a lot of pain and suffering on the planet when you're aware of it. And with that perspective of appreciating the old, I appreciate that this system's here, and I appreciate that people are using it, and I appreciate that people are attached to that and having compassion for that, where maybe sometimes I'm a little bit I just want to rip it out and just bring in the new. But what you touched on that I think is really important is like, it's the action of one step at a time, and it's building. I used to think that when I would go through my process of ascension and meditation and activating chakras and eating the foods and, doing everything that I could, going to Nepal and meditating with monks, so I could just go, this lens drops in and then I'm in the 5D and I don't have to deal with this crap. But in reality, it's actually very slow. And it's this build, and that's what we're here to do. And you're taking those steps, and what's happening is you're evolving as a human, in you and yourself, and your communities get to look, and I get to see the example of what you're doing. So now I know the model. I see, well, Patrick is working every day. He's working with people. These are the things that he's doing, and that's, I think, the most powerful thing that anyone can do. So I appreciate for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And what's really coming up for me in this moment is exactly what you're just touching about. The biggest way that we can really transform the planet is by focusing on transforming ourselves and just taking one step in front of the other and just being an example for how to be in the world the best we possibly can, And we can't be like timid in a cave, or we could. But I think most of our paths are to be creators on this planet. So we're going to go out there, we're going to create, we're going to be interacting, and we're going to make mistakes. And we're going to take time, and we're going to sit, and we're going to reflect, and we're going to let go and take that time and observe all the ways that we've been creating that aren't fully in highest integrity with our true path. And then we'll get back out there and put another foot in front of the other and do the best we can, And that's really what's going to help shape the future of this planet, and is like who we're choosing to be in every moment, and the courage that we have to be somewhere new. Like that's the new frontier of fear, is like the courage to break through our own understanding of who we are in this world, and in every moment truly creating ourselves brand new from our newest, highest wisdom and perspective.
Man, it's beautiful. Yeah, I totally agree. So what if you could kind of, gift something to an individual listening to this? Let's say like it's a belief system that gets adopted worldwide. People just believe it, or they have like an action or a value. What would you like to offer the planet? Do you feel would be most useful for us to collaborate and live in a world of peace where we cooperate? One of the things I often say is Team Earth. Like, can you imagine Team USA and North Korea and Russia and all the adults working together? But now we're adults. So whatever your environment is to create, work together with other adults in a spirit of cooperation for the highest good of all beings. So just curious if you might have like a belief or like something that you would turn, if you could, to empower humanity in a positive direction.
So I'm just going to share what I'm working on at the current moment today, right? Which may be helpful. I experience a lot of pressure and tension and stress around setting goals for myself, self-imposed expectations of like, I want the organization or I want myself to get to X, Y, and Z. And then utilizing my mind and, getting advice, I'm like, all right, to get there, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And what I'm learning to do in the moment right now is creating a plan for the future and letting it go and just walking into the moment and trusting, like just fully trusting in my own inner guidance, trusting that it's all going to come together without a fear of it's not going to happen the way I want it to happen. So if it's one tidbit I'd love to share with everybody is remembering to pause and breathe. Maybe setting our alarm at the top of the hour for like 4 hours during the day, like at 11, at 10, 11, 12, and 1 o'clock. And no matter what we're doing, we pause and we take 3 breaths and just kind of let go for a little bit and like come into our center and then walk back out. So I think most of the tension and the friction that happens in the world is a result of getting carried away without reflection, like getting way far down the rabbit hole of the mind and the heart and the body and the collective, and not being able to pull out of it and feeling stuck and trapped. So if we like start developing a habit of like letting go of the external world and just being in our center, then we can allow the external world to move around us, and we can just take steps in line with what we feel is best.
Amazing, man. I totally agree. I've wanted to create an app, so whoever listens to this, just create it. But it's just like you could have it set for every hour or every 2 hours and maybe like a little chime. And then that's just a signal for you to come back to the present moment. That's what they're doing in Nepal and Tibet. They just come back to the moment, and you can set an intention, right? I like the 3 deep breaths. I've kind of said a few times that enlightenment's 3 deep breaths, because you're out of the worry. You're not, you're not in the past. You're not in the future. That's it. You're just present. Then you come back. And then from there, you come with a fully present, centered, engaged view. And what happens is we can get lost throughout a day, but we can also get lost throughout a week and a month and a year and 10 years, and you get in the cycle. So that present mindfulness is a really powerful and simple technique. So I love it.
Yeah. And one other thing is just with all the things that are going on outside of ourselves that we feel resistance to, whether it be the government or the financial system or our boss or whatever, really developing a deep compassion, for ourselves, really, and really just deep self-care and love is so important in transforming the world around us, because all those things will have no effect on us, or we'll be able to navigate through them way more easily if we're in a place of self-empowerment, and self-love, and care, and compassion, and a willingness to look at everything as meant to be, like an evolution of our planet. Like, yes, things feel dense and tough and hard, but that's the beauty of being human. Like, we're so lucky that we get to live in these physical bodies. There's the upsides far outweigh the downside, but we still have a lot of evolving to do to like really fully embody this experience of being human, and just know that we're on that escalation scale, and be compassionate with ourselves.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I completely agree. And of all the podcasts I've done, and even whether you're like a world famous athlete or a high level CEO with all the money in the world, or whatever the case is, that's really what it comes down to, is a deep love, an acceptance for yourself, and kindness to yourself. If you went around the street and your internal dialogue, you said that to everybody else, you'd probably get your butt kicked every day if you were as mean to others as you are to yourselves. So it's a beautiful thought. Do you have any tips on how we can do that? And you coming from an analytical mind as well, that can be the hardest one, because you set the goal and then you're working really hard and you forget to be kind to yourself. I'm just wondering if you have any tips.
Honestly, sometimes it takes rigidity to kind of set a new pattern. So I've gone through phases where I've worked so much from morning to night nonstop. And what needed to happen was me to set a commitment to myself that from this time to this time on this day of the week, I am doing absolutely nothing. Nowhere to be, nothing to do. I'm just going to be. And wherever that leads me, great. And I think that is one of the best tools that someone can give themselves, is the spaciousness of just being, and being okay if even during those phases the mind continues, but just knowing that that's a time to just let it be without trying to do anything about it, So
yeah. Amazing.
Gift of spaciousness.
It's important, man. And I think that allowing yourself to do that, you get off the treadmill of the mind and the doing. You don't have this space to observe. And so it might seem difficult and your mind might still be racing, but it's still a very powerful tactic. So if you are a busy guy, putting it in the calendar and just forcing yourself to have it, maybe just sit on a bench, be sitting there waiting to go back to work. You're waiting to be put back in the game, but committing to yourself. So yeah, man, it's brilliant. I want to be mindful of your time, dude. I was like saying at the beginning, half an hour is not enough for this beautiful man. We met at Burning Man. It was a beautiful beginning, Conscious Media Festival, and just watching you and your work. So I hope that you'll come back and we can have a longer, more drawn out conversation about life and the world and peace and everything else. But what do you want to leave the listeners with, and where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, so you guys can always find out more about what we're up to at facebook.com/unify. For the women out there that want to join the women's movement, it's at globalsisterhood.org. And I guess, what do I want to leave people with? I guess the number one thing that I've learned over the last few years, that it's so important for us to follow our inspiration and follow our passion, no matter what. And it may lead us through really, really difficult challenges and through some of like the deepest, hardest, darkest parts of life. But at the end of it, it's so worth it. The reward is so worth it, and it's important to evaluate our passion and our inspirations and where they truly are coming from before we actually start running with them. And it is important to create plans for them, but it's important really to start following, even just like one step at a time, like 1 hour a week dedicated to your passion or to your inspiration. and then watch that seed and that flower bloom into a whole forest, you know? So that's my one thing that I'm leaving y'all with. Follow your passion and inspiration. It's worth it.
Incredible, man. I love it. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. I wish we had more time, but I have a deep love and respect for you as the human and all of your work and your dedication. So I love you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, Matt. Peace.
See you guys.